All right, great. The title of this talk is View This Abstract in Your Browser. But before we get into that, we'll do a quick warm-up. So who likes cross-site scripting? This guy does. That's Sammy Kamkar. And so who's seen this website? This website is used. You can sign up, create an account, and you can actually see the entire LASCON schedule on there. And you can create your own custom schedule by clicking and choosing the talks that you want to see. So I did a kind of a little trick last year when I spoke here. I found cross-site scripting in the pages that you're able to create your profile and your talk description. So I actually put a little cross-site scripting code in it so that if you came across my talk or my profile, it would automatically add my talk to your schedule. So, so I had a little bit of fun there, and I wanted to see if I could do that again. And so last year I used this injection with a little bypass. There was a strange thing where if you had a slash in before the event handler, that it would not pay attention to the rest of the word, and you would be able to bypass it. And you also see that there's equal space. Because I didn't put the words right after the equal sign, whatever rules they were using, it was bypassing them. So when I tested it this year, they actually fixed the slash bypass and blocked the on mouse over keywords and a bunch of others. But fortunately, there's a lot of event handlers that you're able to use when you're doing cross-site scripting, right? I mean, there's enormous amounts, and they're adding new ones to specifications all the time. So this year, I just put all of them in a little test, and boom, still have cross-site scripting on the same site. This time, you can use the on-mouse out function. So yeah, cross-site scripting right on that site. Blacklists do not work, so do not try them when you're securing your website. All right, so that was fun. So the title of this talk is View This Abstract in Your Browser. My name is PHIL PURVIANCE. A little bit about myself. Howdy, I just moved to Houston. I'm originally from California. I lived there my whole life, so it's great being here. And I've spoken at several other events. I've spoken at Black Hat, TourCon, DevCon 5, and I spoke last year, like I said earlier, at LASCON AppSec USA. My title is Application Security Researcher and Consultant at AppSec Consulting, Inc. And I consider myself a bug bounty hunter, and I also spent almost a year doing bug bounty review for one of the large bug bounty programs that's out there. A little bit about my company, since they did approve my time to be here. AppSec Consulting, we do PCI compliance and validation, penetration testing, web and mobile apps, that's where I spend my time, source code analysis, network pen tests, and we do secure web application development courses. So check out the website, appsecconsulting.com. All right, so the themes of this talk. We're going to be talking about authorization vulnerabilities, PII, that's personally identifiable information, such as your name, address, email, credit card, and telephone numbers. You know, things that you consider yours, and you don't want anybody to have them unless you explicitly gave it to them. And we're going to be talking about Google Dorks. Clap if you know what a Google Dork is. All right, a couple of you. Google Dorks, right? No. That is not a Google Dork, although you might consider it to be. Google Dorking, okay, this is really what that is it's using highly specific Google search queries to find vulnerable websites or servers. It's used by black hats to quickly find websites to hack, rather than searching the entire internet and doing a network scan for port 80 and seeing what websites are out there and then seeing if they're running the older version of Apache or something like that. They'll simply use a Google query and search for keywords that that web server might have on that website. It's also a popular way to automate botnet exploitation. So a little bit of a side rant there. If you don't know this already, a lot of botnets, what they'll end up doing is having the bots use Google Dorks to search for vulnerable websites. They might be looking for like a WordPress site or something like that. And when they find them, they'll actually attempt exploits against those servers. So that's one of the ways that botnets find servers to exploit and then grow. So a little bit more about Google dorking, and if you don't know what that is, you'll get it as we go along. You're using very specific filters in your Google search query. Rather than just looking for the contents of a couple words on the page, you can use all sorts of other filters. For example, you can search by file type. Let's say you only want to bring back .php files or .aspx files because you're looking for a server to exploit something that's for those frameworks. There's also the filter in title. So you might do a in title search for admin portal, and the title is going to be what you see at the top of your window when you're browsing a website. EvoCam is another interesting one. If you use that, you can actually find a lot of webcams that are publicly available on the internet that have been unsecured by using an in-title search for EvoCam. In URL, so if you do a search for that, it's instead of actually checking the text of the website, it's going to be testing the URL of the website and looking for that information. So the example is PHP myadmin or download underscore hub.php, and you're basically looking for those words in the URL. And site, this allows you to filter specific domains. So let's say you were looking for a news article but wanted to limit it to the New York Times. So you could do site newyorktimes.com, and then you'd only be searching that website. You could do the same thing, but let's say you're only looking for vulnerabilities on bank.com, for example. And cache, that's not really a Google dork, but very useful. What cache is, if you put that into the beginning of your string and then a URL after that, instead of, that's useful for when the page is actually gone down. So the web server's taken the page offline, but Google caches every page that it sees, or nearly every page that it sees. So that'll actually return the Google cache of that page. So you'll still be able to see the content even if the owner of the website has taken that information down. And then it's good to know that you can do negatives. So you can do minus file type if you want to exclude PDF files and you want to filter your search just a little bit more. So how could this be used? Here's a really cool Google dork. It's just a simple one. User underscore password and then in URL PHP myadmin. So PHP myadmin, that's a PHP built application for managing MySQL databases. And it's a pretty powerful framework because if you're able to control a MySQL database, you're actually able to compromise the entire machine based on the privileges that MySQL has in most cases. So you can see here that this simple query returned 21,000 results. And if you're wondering what happens when you click on one of those pages, it actually takes you right into a PHP myadmin console. And from there, you can run SQL queries against the database, drop tables, do whatever malicious things you want. And you can find thousands of these sites just by searching Google. And if I were to guess, I'd say most of the ones that you're able to find on that search query have already been compromised. They've already been hacked a dozen times maybe, and but they're still sitting on the net because nobody's realized it and taken it down. All right, so back to the topic at hand. Email, because that's what we're going to get into. So using emails, I actually received, and just a little bit of imagination, I'll show you how to discover personally identifiable information without even breaking a sweat. We're going to be combining emails that I've actually received, and I'll show you those emails, combining them with Google Dorks to find information that companies, reputable companies, have left online for anybody in the world to find. All right, so I'll go right into vulnerable examples here. All right, so hotelwebsite.com, confirmation numbers and receipts. So think about what kind of information you give away when you sign up for a hotel. When you go to a website and you reserve a room, they may ask you, what are the names of the people staying with you? You need to give them what nights you're going to be there, your credit card and information. They might ask for your mailing address so they can send you information in the future. They obviously will have your email. Well, I signed up for a hotel a while back and I received this email. This is an actual email. I blocked a few things out. And you'll see right there that at the top of the page it says, click here to view this email online. And you'll see a little bit more of that. That's kind of where the title of this presentation came from. You'll also see a link, view and print receipt. And it's like, where do these things go? And I was surprised that when I clicked these things, I wasn't prompted to type in my username and password. Instead, it immediately took me to a page with all my information. It said, okay, well, here's your receipt. You can print it out if you want. And so that got me thinking, like, why is there all this information available without me having to type in a username and password? And what if I was able to find this out for other people? So I looked at the URLs of the links on this email. And you can see on the first one and the last one, they're actually pretty similar. And I abbreviated there's a random token that's put in there. And that specifies my user account. But we see http://click.mail.hotels.com/?QS equals. So I tried putting this into Google, site hotels.com in URL QS and the word confirmation. And we got a fair number of results. So given this is not going to be my information here. This is going to be information that's publicly available online that's being hosted by these companies. First link I clicked on, I get this. This is in Chrome. It says, "Dear valued customer, your reservation is now confirmed and has been paid in full. Your confirmation number is this. Thank you for looking at our website." I scrolled down the page a little bit and I was surprised at what I saw. Here's the entire rest of that person's receipt. At the top, we see the name of the person who's going to be the guest. It says 2 adults, preference, king size bed, number of nights, 7 nights, 2 adults. It goes on to list how much it is each night. It goes on at the bottom to say the billing name, which is surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but different from the guest name, and the card type, card number, and billing address, and below that there's actually the phone number. What do you guys think about that? and the thing about this is there's no one company that has this problem, and you'll see that as I go on. But obviously that's a big problem. There's a lot of information here. What could you do with this? Well, the first thing that came to my mind is, well, if you had this much information on somebody, you have a lot of background on them, maybe you could try like a social engineering attack or something like that. You know where they were on a certain night. Maybe you could call them up and say you are the hotel, and you have some credibility because you can say, oh yeah, your reservation number was this. The last 4 digits of your credit card number is this. There was a problem with your hotel stay, and you need to send me a check at this address or something like that. But there's all sorts of other problems. One of the things that you see here, the billing name and the guest, they have different last names. So maybe the people who reserve this hotel don't want anybody else to know that they were in a room together at this hotel. So maybe there's another tactic that the attacker could take in blackmail or something like that. At this point, you don't really know, but somebody that was malicious could definitely look into it and use this as a starting point to definitely go further. All right, so I'll give you guys another example. This one's in Google Calendar, and so I call it private events and calendar tampering. If you're not familiar with Google Calendar, it's very similar to Outlook, where you can create an event on your calendar, you can share that event with your friends, and when they accept your invite, it'll show on your calendar that they accepted and that they're going to be going. So I sent myself an invite. And you can see the links there. It says, are you going? Yes, maybe, no. And I just put the links there so you can kind of see what I saw when I right-clicked on it and clicked View URL. And then I converted that into a Google query to see what kind of results I would find. And we got a good number of results here. And these are going to be other people's calendars. So the query I ended up using was site www.google.com. That's going to limit the scope to just google.com. In URL calendar, in URL event, in URL action, and in URL response updated. All right, so one of the first links there, meet with Greg and Penny at Sacramento. And you can see at the top that it actually thinks that I am Greg at hbgary.com. So those who don't know, Greg would be the CEO of the now defunct security company HB Gary. And I bet he would not be happy about his private event calendars being posted online for anybody to see. But now everybody knows who he was meeting with and at what time and where and what he was doing. Here's another one. I mean, it's kind of fun just to go through these links. You open a whole bunch of them, and you just see what kind of information it takes you. So this one was a pretty funny one, and I don't even know where it came from, but it says 11 a.m., $13 fusion of yoga Pilates sexercise. Come join us in a semi-clothed awakening of your next Shakti energy and the sacred charkas of your body. And the funny thing about this is you'll see it says there's a link there, change your response. So I was able to click change my response and said, yes, I'm going with more than 50 guests. It's going to be a big party at this exercise. But yeah, you can run into the same problem if, let's say you invite a friend to an event on Google Calendar, and their friend says, hey, I didn't get the invite, can you send it to me? So you forward it to them. Now they actually can click that link and pretend to be you. They can change the comments on that event, say you're not going, no, I don't want to go to that party, it's going to suck anyway, and it'll show up on your calendar as the first person that you sent it to. So there's a spoofing issue there, and I brought it up to Google, and they said they're aware of it, and their latest policy is really strict on vulnerability disclosure. I think it's like 7 days or something like that, and I asked them about that, and they said, well, that's only for actively being exploited vulnerabilities. And the thing about this is, how would anybody else know who's exploiting a Google search besides Google? So that's kind of tricky, if you ask me. All right. Well, here's another example. Cell phone carrier shipping confirmations. This one's pretty fun. All right, so here's an email I got just the other day. I blocked out the important information here. So this is just the email, and I guess it's okay if in my email that they say, here's your subtotal, here's your receipt information, confirmation, all this stuff. But it's another thing when you find that information online. And you see at the top, get ready for the fastest 4G network in America, view online, right? So view online, that's it'll just basically show you the same information that you got in your email, but on the website. And you can see there the URL that I stripped from that link. I turned that into a Google query, and we get site verizonwireless.com, in URL download.asp, in URL GUID. The GUID is going to be a unique token. Each user is going to have a different one, and that's why we're using Google to find these pages rather than trying to guess the GUID. If we just wanted to find somebody else's, it's not like you can just increment it by one. They usually don't have that problem, although they have in the past. In this example, they don't, but we click on the first link there, and wow, we get a lot of information. It says, hi, Kivantis. We have their order number, we have their shipping address, their payment type, which is a Visa. We also know that they're getting a new iPhone 4 with free 2-day shipping, a gigabyte shared data, and then this email was sent to, so now we have their email address too. And then, of course, they say that they respect your privacy. So, so you know that it's legit. Yeah, when I saw this, I was just completely shocked that I'm looking at somebody else's information, and the damage that you can do. Maybe it doesn't come to you right away, but if you know that somebody's going to be getting a new iPhone, and you know about when they're going to get it, maybe you're going to hang around their house and see when the delivery guy comes by, Here's another one. We have the order number, we have the name of the individual, and has his address and his phone number. It also has, it looks like this guy's a multi-line plan. So we have several mobile numbers, we have their SIM ID, we have 2 iPhone 4Gs, and a tracking number. So we can actually watch as that's being delivered. We have all that information available online. And there's just pages and pages and pages of this. It's not just this one example that I'm showing you right now.
And were you surprised you only got 45 back though in the search?
You can change the query a little bit, and you'll get different results. So, and also when you first do it, it'll actually say that you have one result. Click here for more, because it thinks that they're too similar. But so the numbers that it comes back with is a little bit weird, but yeah. The mechanism for caching from Google? I'll get into that. Any other comments on this page right here? Anybody else have Verizon? All right, there were a couple examples that I didn't get into here just because it's a little bit sketchy, but there have been pages with full credit card numbers and CVV details on the website that I found. And interesting thing about that is it is very illegal for companies to store CVV numbers. Credit card limits, reward categories, and points, those ones are all over the place. And personal identifiable information in the URL over HTTP, that's another one that was seen pretty frequently.
Can you tell us the sites that were storing?
So the interesting thing about this is it's not direct at any one industry. It covers pretty much all industries, and there doesn't seem to be a right or reason between which sites has this vulnerability or which sites do not. It just depends on who set up their email system, and I think that's basically it. Okay, so why is this happening? All right, so a lot of it comes down to these personalized emails. They want to send you a personalized email. They want it to have receipt information or an invoice or a link so you can unsubscribe. And a lot of the times the unsubscribe links, if you find that URL, it'll tell you the person's email address, which would be pretty useful if you were in marketing or sales or something like that. If you'd be able to find out what emails one of your competitors is subscribed to or something like that, you'd be able to find out who they were and send them your own stuff, more black hat stuff. But one of the interesting things about it is they use unique URLs for tracking user interaction, and that's why there's URLs all over these emails. They also want it to be pretty so that people view these emails, so they load it up with pictures and HTML. But it has to support all email clients. And that's one of the things that it breaks down to. And for all the unsupported clients, that's why they have that link. View this email in your browser. Because if you're running some weird email client, they still want to be able to sell to you or give whatever information they want to give to you that way. And that's why they have these links and you're able to view it on the website. Another reason they do it is just for convenience. And recently there was a issue with OkCupid.com where I guess that's a dating site, and there was a blog post about how the emails that they sent out automatically logged you in when you clicked on them. So if you forwarded that information to somebody else or somebody else got access to your email account, they could just click the link and they'd all see all your messages in your inbox and things like that. And a similar dating website, How About We, when asked about it, said, yeah, we built this feature because people requested it. It allows for more easeful and immediate user experience. And I guess both of these sites decided to do the exact same thing, and regardless of the security costs. And that's always the thing, right? You have to balance convenience with security, and where do you want it to balance out? All right, so a little bit about solutions to this problem. And if the website has this problem, it's not all over. There are a few things that they can do. But first, if possible, make sure you're doing it right. Don't provide any kind of information that's sensitive without requiring the user to log in. Any kind of information. And if you don't want to have them log in, at least have them provide like a PIN number or some kind of information that you can't just randomly find on the internet. But if it's already too late, and you already have one of these websites that you're responsible for, make sure that you're doing proper hosting. So always use HTTPS on these sites. All right? Expire these pages quickly, less than 30 days. That way, if Google finds these links, they're not there for very long. You're limiting the exposure. You're limiting the risk there. And then you want to add the headers, cache control, no cache, no store, and pragma no cache. And hopefully, most of the search engines and everything else will honor these. And especially if you're using HTTPS, they won't actually keep the links for these sites. They'll drop them because they'll understand that it's supposed to be secure and it's not supposed to be cached or stored. Alternatively, if your admins don't have control in order to change the HTTP headers, alternatively, you can just add meta tags within the page that do effectively the same exact thing. Another thing that should be done is implement robots.txt. A lot of these sites, they didn't have robots.txt properly implemented. And what that does is that provides restrictions on what website search engines are allowed to go through on your website. There's no law or anything like that says they have to follow it, but most of the reputable companies, they'll follow it. Like if Google sees that you're disallowing all the pages on your website, it's just going to see that and then stop everything else. Exactly, exactly. But a lot of these things, and I use Google as an example, but you could use Bing or DuckDuckGo or any other search engine, and you can find a lot of the same thing. But Google is the biggest search engine, and it is going to give you the most results. So you want to make sure that you're limiting that as much as you can. So like I said, established search engines will honor this file, but they're not required to. Less reputable scanners may just ignore it, so there's no guarantees. But you definitely want to have that in there. Where if you have this problem and people are saying, hey, what's my information doing on your website for everybody to see? You want to make sure to remove these pages from Google. So the people responsible for your website, they can use Google Webmaster Tools, and they can submit a request to have a page removed. And they'll want to do this for all the ones that have been leaked onto Google somehow. You can also remove the Google cache, and they say that if the page still exists, use the robots.txt to prevent Google from crawling it. But even if the URL is disallowed, they may still index the page and list it in the search results because somebody else linked to it. Okay? So, however, if you submit a removal request, they will honor that over it, and they will keep the page out of search results. Now, then there are some laws and consequences. The one that's probably the most damning is in California. There's a law that says that organizations must notify individuals when PII is known or believed to be acquired by an unauthorized person. And right now, all you guys are unauthorized persons. So, in summary, emails may contain links that assume you are authenticated. These links can get indexed by Google and other search engines. And Google Docs can lead you to very sensitive information. And it's very easy to do. So what I want you guys to do is to try it yourself. I mean, it's really that easy. Search your own email inbox for phrases like, view this email in your browser. If you are having trouble viewing this message, it'll say click here. Click here to view this email online, or even unsubscribe. Unsubscribe, a lot of the times you go to that unsubscribe page and it'll say, your email address is, blot-whatever.com. Are you sure you want to unsubscribe? You can find other emails by using those links. Anyways, well, thank you very much. LASCON.